back from my trip, and there's a new ID coming out soon. Okay, time to take a look.
Limbus 컴퍼니.
그래. 나도 반갑고. 혹시 남는 나사 있나?
Okay, we got Chainsaw Man.
시동 걸어볼까?
저리 가라. 괜히 와서 들쑤시지 마.
Okay, there's a fox, there's an umbrella.
꼴딱 떨지 마. 나는 세상에 있는 모든 기술들을 내 손으로 전부 부숴버릴 거야. 거기서 네가 방해된다면 망설임 없이 찔러버릴 거고.
Okay. So, very interesting. Looks like we're getting an ego ID. An ego that's actually become an ID. Very, very cool design. Alright, so anyway, I'm back from my trip. I'm just gonna talk about all of the units I've seen so far. I've seen all their kits already. I'm just gonna go through everything that has come out when I came back. So first off, we're getting the new lobotomy ego, but it's actually an ID. Sunshower Heathcliff. Don't get confused by this. This is an ID. It's a 3-star ID that is called a lobotomy ego. So it's an ego that has become an ID. Yeah, Sunshower Heathcliff. And then we got 2-star Rose Spanner Workshop Fixer Gregor. And now let's just move on to the rest of the patch notes. The only significant one that you need to know here, well, there's two. The only two significant things you need to know is that this new team setup function is amazing. Basically, when you do Railway, what you do for some speedrun strats is you try to get Rabbit Heathcliff 2 actions. So what you do is you run only maybe 3 characters, and then you hope that the extra action goes to Rabbit. So in this case, right, we now have fixed RNG. So skill slots are now added according to the order in which the sinners were selected on deployment. Meaning, if I select Rabbit Heathcliff and I bring a team of 4, Rabbit Heathcliff is 100% going to get an extra action. So it's super good for speedrunners. For low turn doers in Railway. They also did a bit of a nerf, I think, for the Chapter 4 enemies, but I haven't done them yet, so I don't know if that is warranted or not. Anyway, besides that, here's the second one. So if you do not know yet, right, Honglu's skill 2 Shank did not activate before. It was bugged. They're just fixing it this patch. And that's it really. There's nothing else here that's particularly interesting. The rest you can just read yourself. We're also getting 300 Lunacy. Alright, anyway, to the actual content that I'm quite interested in is Chainsaw Gregor. Yeah! Okay, Chainsaw Gregor is a slashing pierce character with okay looking coins, no particularly interesting guard here. So he's a charge count character with Rupture, and he on use gains charge count, he inflicts tremor count and Rupture count, very cool. And then here burst tremor, then reduce tremor, spend charge count. It's the exact same wording as Rodion and Meursault. So you burst the tremor, then reduce the tremor, and you spend the charge count to inflict the same amount of Rupture count. So Gregor converts tremor into Rupture, which is interesting, but maybe not super interesting. So basically it does mean you can run maybe some pseudo tremor characters, and then you use him to convert it into Rupture, so you can run him with the Dimension Gang, for example, to stack even more Rupture count on the enemies and get even more damage. It's quite interesting. It's interesting, but I don't know if the setup is going to be worth it, because realistically, how much tremor can you apply, and how much is the conversion rate as well? Wait, it's the same amount though. Okay, then in that case, how much tremor can you actually apply in one turn? Is it worth it? Maybe it will be if they design enemies that need to be or are easily staggered, for example. I don't know. It's a case of, is this really worth it when you could just bring Unga Bunga characters and get the same stagger anyway? I don't know, but the synergy is cool. And they also have this special wording here: if target is staggered, deal more damage. So this is going to it looks like it's going to be a staple for every Tremor character right now. The Rose Hammer Meursault, Rodion, and Gregor now has this. And this is how they are going to make Tremor into a more offensive ability. But at the same time, the way they worded this, right, makes it very versatile. Meaning that if you just break them normally, you can get this effect. You don't even need to tremor them. So at the same, like, with that logic, right, is it worth it to do tremor stacking when I could get to this state, this staggered state, normally using more damaging characters? Which is why I think that maybe Rodion is the only one of them that's going to be actually used in a dungeon. I don't think this guy will be used in a railway, but I think it's very cool design. And then his passive here is inflict more rupture to target with tremor. Sure, that means it's really just a rupture guy, but he is built to synergize with tremor. Very cool. I like it. It's a bit like Endon. Endon also had some synergy with, I believe, Tremor and Bleed? Or was it Nail? Something along those lines. But basically, they link things together. I think it was Nail and... No, I can't remember, sorry. I can't remember what Endon is right now. But anyway, this one, really cool design. I like it a lot. Maybe not meta, but probably really fun to use. Especially once the MD comes out and we get all the new gifts. Can't wait to try. Okay, Sunshower Heathcliff is looking super spicy. Like, oh my god, the man has 3 coin, 4 coin, 3 coin. Do you know the only one that has this kind of coinage? Three coin, 4 coin, 5 coin. Okay, this one is way better, but oh my goodness, man. Oh, it's another big coiner. Ah! Oh, 3 coin on the skill 1. This guy, hey, what's up? I'm joining the 3 coin on skill 1 game with my umbrella thwack. Oh. Okay, anyway, so first of its kind, an ego that has become an ID. On use, gains sinking count. Sinking character, he gains it. By the way, he gains it and then he inflicts it on the 3rd coin here. And then you look here on the skill tree, he gains sinking and sinking count. So he gains count only here and gains sinking and sinking count here, and then gains only sinking on his counter defense. So warning is a 2-point counter, very cool. Gives red energy. So overall this guy gives 4 elements. It gives him sinking potency. It gives him paralyze. It gives him paralyze, meaning that he's going to be a tail coiner. At least he has to be, right? If not, why would they want this when below minus 15 SP? So it's going to be a tail coiner, and on hit he inflicts sinking and rupture on the enemy. Skill 2 is a 4 coiner. When below 15 SP, you gain final power, we don't know the number. Inflict rupture, and then spend sinking to deal more damage. And then you burst tremor at the end with a tail hit. So cool. So cool. Spread out has so much going for it as well. It gains you both of the statuses that you would want. And then you inflict the paralyze. This one's not a gain. You inflict the rupture, and then you inflict fragile. Oh, inflict fragile. Next turn fragile. Next turn fragile. Rabbit, this turn fragile. 4. This guy, next turn fragile. I don't know the number. Please don't be 1. Because if it's 1, it'll be whatever. But if it's 2, 3, oh my goodness. And if it's 4, it's just straight up power creep. Straight up power creep. So the thing about quick suppression, right, actually, even though I say it's power creep, it might still not be power creep. Because when you do meta strats, you reroll to get the optimal situation. So if you just reroll for quick suppression, 2 of them, you get the coin power, you get the fragile, you get the rupture, you get a bunch of damage on this skill. This one, on the other hand, is takes a bit longer to get that setup. Basically, we are aiming for quick suppression because quick suppression has high damage as well as fragility. This one only has 3 coins and doesn't have coin power, so it might not be super high damage, but it does have the fragile here. So depending on this number here, this skill could be better or worse. It's hard to compare. It's very, very hard to compare. Basically, this character, right, he applies his own fragile for himself to do this Puddle Stomp move. When you're below 15 SP, use this skill against firepower. And then at the start of the combat phase, you spend your sinking count and lose SP by the current amount of sinking. So it's going to be pretty decent to get this. You do not have to get hit, because sinking, how it works is you have to get hit in order to lose your SP. But in this case, right, you have a passive that does it for you. You just need to spend the count and then you lose SP by the current number of your potency of sinking, which you will need to use a warning to get, or your spread out to get. And then before being hit, you gain protection equal to the unit sinking. It looks like potency because it doesn't say count. And then when hit, you gain blunt damage up next turn. So this character looks absolutely amazing. A kit that is kind of enclosed, but looks like a very high skill requirement. You need to know when you need to get some sinking, and you need to know when you also don't want to get your sinking, because if you get too much sinking, then you corrode. But this character seems a bit easier to manage in terms of sinking, in terms of SP I mean, because if you just use skill 1 and skill 2, right, you don't actually get your sinking. But you do need to eventually use your skill 3 in order to apply the fragile. So you only use skill 3 like a few times, and then you only use this like the rest of the time. And then you only do enough warnings so that you can farm up enough sinking potency that you're happy with your current sinking amount, and then you don't have to actually drop below that amount and begin. For example, you could get until like maybe negative 30 SP, and then maybe this skill 3 here, you occasionally use it. And since it's a skill tree, that is pretty easy to do. And you only gain, I don't know the charge here, but if this charge is a bit too high, then maybe you need to work around that. But I think it's very reliable to stay at SP level below this 15 for sure. And then minus 30 might be a little bit trickier, but I think it's totally doable because this skill tree and your defense are the only things that actually give you raw sinking. The rest just gives sinking count. So doesn't look like this character is super hard to control compared to Ninclair, who needs to be whistled every now and then to or representation emitter, whatever SP healing item. This guy looks like he can control himself, and especially since he'll be killing people, he will be getting back a lot of SP because of the reversion of the changes. So I think this character looks very, very solid. I don't know if he can replace Rabbit, and that will depend on, in my opinion, this fragile. If this fragile amount is very good, or these numbers are extremely good, then this guy might replace Rabbit. But otherwise, I don't think Rabbit will get replaced. I think that these two might be swappables. Like, you might use one over the other in certain situations. I think that's the only thing I can say about these ID currently. I think this ID is super cool design. I'm 100% pulling this, alright? It's not like Rodion where I'm on the fence. I'm like, I don't think Rodion will be that amazing. This guy though, looks so cool. And his kit design is so cool. It's so good. I love it. Okay, anyway, so basically, I would recommend pulling this guy just because of drip and because of coinage and because of the whole design being super cool. But as for OP yet, I cannot say yet. I'll wait for the numbers to come out first and then I'll talk about it, because the Chef Gregor incident is still deep in my mind. Yeah. Okay, anyway, let's talk about Capotes, since I wasn't here. So Capote, the free one looks amazing, and the paid one looks okay, for now. So the free one, right, is a He Ego for Meursault. Very cool. 5 cost for He. That is Telepole Dawn level. Telepole Dawn also is 5 cost. And that is partially why Telepole Dawn is also so good. It's because when you only need to pay 5 for your He Ego and it does a lot of things, it's extremely value. Because Tef Egos are normally this cost, and you're paying this amount for a He Ego, which is really, really good. This guy has 35 damage. 35 damage. 20 plus 15. The right stuff, right? Boom. This is gonna deal easily like 70 or 90 damage. I don't know. It's a crazy amount. The passive is solid. If you're targeted by 2 or more skills, meaning that if you run a less than 5 team, you might have a chance of getting this. And if you're running maybe solo Meursault or some crazy shit like that, you probably will be getting this quite a bit. I wonder if it would be good for a solo Meursault. It might be tricky to get these resources. But looks very interesting. Looks very interesting. This +2, right? It's actually pretty reliable if you bring maybe 3 characters. So you bring 3 characters and the enemy has like 5 actions, then probably gonna get hit at some point with these 2, and then you get the extra base power. Not a bad passive, and especially since you're getting this amount of damage for paying this amount of cost. Oh, it's pretty good. After attack, you gain 2 haste. Great. 1 ref power up. That's the first time I've seen element power up. So this is the first of its kind, meaning future we will get envy power ups, lust power ups, and whatnot. And then we also get 1 blunt power up. So definitely designed for Wrath plus blunt, meaning it's a Leo Meursault thing. I think it's the 6-sided Death Fist or something. That's the move's name. It's the red plus blunt, yeah. And then there's like so many other statuses alongside this. This is inflict 7 burn, inflict tremor by target's burn count. So here is our first glimpse at something benefiting off of burn count, but actually applying another status. The others is I think Liu Gregor gives himself attack buff. I think Honglu gives the enemy a debuff or spreads the burn or something like that. But this is the first time I've seen Tremor be matched with burn count, so it's quite interesting. So which means that if you run a burn team and you are also running a Tremor team, theoretically, right, if you run Gregor, the chainsaw man Gregor, with this ego plus a burn team, you can get the burn, and then you get the Tremor, and then you get the rupture. So you could do a 3 status bullshittery theoretically, but as for how viable that is, I don't know. But fun wise, it does sound really funny. And then inflict 2 burn on 5 random enemies, and then burst Tremor, reduce Tremor count. If burst staggers a target, you inflict +2 burn count. There's so much shit on this thing. If you have a bunch of waves, right, using this is decent because it inflicts the burn and inflicts the burn count if the target's staggered, so it's just great. Inflicting the burn as well, 7 burn for 35 damage here, plus 7 burn, that's a lot of damage on one target. If the target's weaknesses are correct, this will do a lot. For example, if you fight the frog, right, and you brought this awakening, it's still pretty damn good once you break the frog's eye. Frog was weak to 1.5 times 1.5 times Wrath, so this would still do sizable amount of damage. So yeah, actually pretty damn strong, huh? This ego is really good. As for the ego that it competes against, right? Meursault's He ego is Pursuance. So here you are choosing between a good ego and a good ego. This one is 26 plus 8, which is 34 damage for 7 costs. So you're paying 2 extra. And the other one is 35, right? So in terms of damage difference, it's pretty close, but you are paying for this, as well as this. So really depends. Will we need healing in the future? If not, then maybe we won't need this. It does have burst tremor though, so that's a funny thing, right? The 2 He egos of Meursault have burst tremor. So really interesting. I do think that this one will win out most of the time, just because if you're running the burn team, you just use this, and it's cheaper for the near same amount of damage. As well, I mean, actually, if you count the burn here, right, then actually it's a lot more damage. It's just a different situation. So it's up to you whether you want to run Pursuance or you run Capote. Both are extremely good for different reasons. Anyway, we talked about Capote, the free one. Now let's talk about the paid one. Paid one, honestly, not very interesting. 20 plus 7 for a 5 cost. So it's good that it's a 5 cost, but it's theft, so that's about par. And then 20 plus 7 is 27. It's not particularly amazing. Apply 1 Wrath damage up to all allies next turn, and inflict 4 burn, target lose 15 SP. It's like really whatever. Even when you corrode, it basically does nothing dissimilar to the non-corroded version. Not even increase in damage, because actually, like, look at that, it's 27, so like, who cares? The thing that looks very interesting to me is this passive here. When you attack a target with less than 30% HP, your Wrath skills deal 20% more damage. What this could mean is that my Ishmael here will get a burn ID that does Wrath. Alright, the dream is alive, and this is still pretty solid when it comes to bossing, when it comes to just regular enemy fighting. Because for regular enemies, right, you get to this 30% really fast, and for bosses, when you get to 30%, maybe like Tour Guide, the Tour Guide boss was 1000 HP in total. So if you get him to 300 HP, you trigger this and you deal 20% more damage, so it's actually not too bad. I really hope we get an ID to pair with this. I don't want this to just be not so great just because there's no ID. Because this ID's passive here has quite a bit of potential, in my opinion. Especially when you're running Burn Team, because Wrath, Lust, and Sloth are Burn Team staples. And I think that my Ishmael is just lacking that ID. Just lacking that ID a little bit to become a goddess. Ardent Blossom Star is also here, by the way. Don't forget Ardent Blossom Star. That also does not have a place it belongs, but it does have a shit ton of damage on it as well. So I don't know. So again, it's a theft, right? So let's take a look at Ishmael. Ishmael theft ego would be Roseate Desire, which is a CC ego. Apply Pink Ribbon and Bind. Pink Ribbon increases the amount of bind the more the enemy, I believe, rolls an attack coin. So It's interesting. It's interesting. It's something you would do when you want to really speed down a specific boss that maybe moves at like 10 speed, 12 speed or something along those lines. Reminds me of like, was it Index? I think it's the Index enemies, where they would focus down one enemy and they are quite fast, so it's very hard to clash them. So I think in that situation, right, speed down is actually quite solid against them to help make the fight a bit easier. So yeah, I think in terms of damage though, I think this one, the red one, the Capote wins out on Roseate Desire, because Roseate Desire is a negative coin and we don't have a negative coin ID yet. Once again, another problem. If your ego doesn't have an ID that can benefit from this, then it's hard to synergize. But at least he's only competing with this, so it's actually pretty easy to say Capote is probably better than Roseate Desire in terms of just raw damage. Especially since he does give a ref damage up bonus, Capote. Yeah, he gives a 1 ref damage up to all allies next turn. Next turn is really good, means it doesn't care about the speed. You will need to generate the resources for it. It's just that to pay this amount for this, so far, not worth it. ID required to make this really worth it, in my opinion. I also want to mention, since I forgot to mention, I think in the previous video, that this ego here and this ego here, hold on, this ego here have actually varying offense levels when you corrode. I'm not sure if all egos had this. I'm pretty sure this is a relatively recent thing. Yeah, this is something I just want to mention, but actually doesn't really change my opinion of the egos too much. I think that this offense level change is just whatever, really. It's nice if you want to beat a clash maybe, but if you pay extra cost to corrode this, then I don't think it's worth it to just get this. It doesn't really increase the damage by that much. But yeah, that's it for my special mention of the growth levels. Okay, so just to summarize, we are getting the Sunshower Heathcliff, very cool design. Fixer Gregor, also cool design, but not as amazing potentially as this Sunshower Heathcliff. There are only 2 patch notes that you actually need to care about, and 1 you don't need to care about if you are not a min-maxer. This one lets you decide which character gets an extra action when you select the ID. So for example, I selected Leo Gregor here, and I bring 300 characters, so I got 1 extra action, right? That 1 extra action guaranteed go to Leo Gregor here. That's how it works, and means that you can do your quick suppression strats really easily now, because you just select Rabbit Heathcliff and then you just bring the amount of characters you want to bring, and then boom, you have the characters getting their extra actions, and yeah, you just need to reroll to get the skills. Yeah, pretty simple. And then they nerfed their chapter 4, and then lastly they are fixing Shank so that it will actually work now. Yep, the recycling effect. So basically I think the 4th coin part was not coming out. Yeah, and then we're getting 300 lunacy. For the banner, this guy looks cool. This guy looks amazing. I can't wait to see the numbers. Please don't disappoint me, numbers. And then lastly, Capote. The free one is amazing because it looks just plain solid for 5 cost. And then here, the Capote for Ishmael is not particularly amazing because it's 20 plus 7 for 5 costs. It's a TEF. And there's no ID that would benefit from this passive. Yeah, so that's it for my opinions about these IDs and egos. I think I will definitely be pulling for Heathcliff no matter how badly it looks. Just because I think his design is so cool. Like, look at, and then his drip as well. Like, this man though, oh, looking good. Looking good, cool design. This guy is hitting all the right buttons. I think I'm just gonna pull him no matter what. I don't think it's gonna be a Rodion moment where I just kind of dipped out of the banner. I think I will just hard pull to 200 if I have to, just to get this guy. He's so cool looking, so cool. Such a cool design. But yeah, that's it for my opinions. I will talk about Rodion in my next video. I forgot to talk about her. I had to leave quite quickly after I tried to make a video, so I couldn't make it in time. But yeah, I'm back now for the foreseeable future, and I'll just be trying to pump out content as per usual. So thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment on what you think about Sunshower and what you think about anything else in general. About how do you feel about the SP reversion? How do you feel about Sunshower? How do you feel about Capote? Leave everything. I like to read all this. And yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching.